Obsession. A true story. The unfolding of a very complex process of obsession, with its main roots planted deep in the mysterious soil of past incarnations, with many implications projected into the future of those involved.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another study session of the book Obsession, psychographed by the Spirit Manuel Filomeno de Miranda through the mediumship of Divaldo Franco. Today we have an utmost important and beautiful encounter with the spiritual truths that govern our lives. Why do we say that? We say that because today we have a culminating point to think about and experience in our study sessions. Today we will see in the reading of the chapter coming ahead our first actual description of a spiritual rescue, spiritual detachment, or disobsession meeting. We will see that God is so merciful and compassionate that He offers counseling and loving support, unconditional and compassionate help to those friends who are already free from their physical bodies. They too have, like we do, psychotherapists at their disposal in the spiritual realm and physical realm alike. And when we devote ourselves to the blessed ministry of mediumship, dear friends, we are practicing a beautiful form of charity, a form of charity that reaches out to the majority of inhabitants in our planet. Did you know that though we have 7 billion incarnate spirits in our planet, at least 14 billion more are discarnates? And because the majority of us are discarnates, of course, we also need support. And mediumistic meetings, such as the one described in the chapter we're going to listen to, is the most efficient, kind, and loving form of support that we can offer to those brothers and sisters of ours who are already free from the physical realm. They too have their needs, they too have their emotional traumas. It is not because they no longer live in this realm that they have changed dramatically. They too have issues to be resolved, and mediumship is the beloved channel, the blessed channel that God offers us to allow them to receive this kind of unique and yet very important support. So isn't it beautiful, dear friends, to come to the realization that God's love is truly unconditional, so unconditional that it reaches out even to those who do not live in the same dimension as we do. How beautiful, right? So beautiful that we would like to say a prayer of gratitude. Beloved Creator, thank you for manifesting your unconditional love for all of us, spirits incarnates and discarnates alike. Thank you for placing us in the best realm possible for our spiritual development and evolution. And thank you for allowing us, brothers and sisters of both dimensions of life, to collaborate with one another, Through mediumship, we offer a little bit of our vitality on behalf of those who have already crossed to the true side of life. And through mediumship alike, those who are already in the true side of life can remind us of the universal truths that guide our own existence through their testimonies. So thank you for allowing for this blessed cooperation in both realms of life to occur through your merciful and ever-loving presence. Please bless our hearts, minds, and spirits so that we have ears to hear and eyes to see the beautiful, loving truths that you make available through this program and many others to nourish our souls for immortality. So be it. Now, friends, let us enjoy the reading for tonight.
Chapter 17, Counseling and Surprises. Magnetic action can be produced by the spirit's fluid operating directly and without intermediary upon an incarnate spirit, either to heal or to mitigate a suffering, to provoke spontaneous somnambulic sleep, or still, to work on any physical or moral influence on the individual. This is spiritual magnetism, whose quality is a direct consequence of the spirit's own qualities. Genesis chapter 14, item number 33. All obsessive processes are basically similar. Nevertheless, each particular case presents its own individual characteristics owing to the motives that govern it. There are many aspects to be considered. The patient's moral resistance, his habits, his spiritual merits or demerits. Such aspects work as attenuating or aggravating agents. Usually, in addition to the spirit entities directly involved in the process, idle or wicked entities surround the obsessed incarnate, intensifying his alienation. When the vengeful obsessor has a powerful mind, he's able to scare the other entities away because they fear him. But in most cases, the obsessed person suffers a constricting control by the obsessor and is likewise perturbed by other inferior entities attracted to the obsessed by the laws of infinity because they possess similar mental problems. Aster could not therefore show an immediate recovery right after the removal of the obsessor, who in his turn would receive convenient enlightenment. Other inferior entities participating in the whole complex scheme brought about for karmic reasons still harassed her. Such entities would also, in due course, be properly assisted. Moreover, her mind, having absorbed unwholesome fluids for a long time, needed a much longer time and special treatment to adjust itself. Anyway, the heavy vibrations of intense hatred that oppressed her were decreasing in intensity, since the obsessor had lost direct access to her, although the ties that kept them together had not been entirely severed. When the obsessor came out of the hypnotic trance he had been put in at the end of the rescue meeting, he immediately tried to return to the hospital to indulge himself again in the mental dependence he had grown used to. The two spirit nurses, invisible to his sight, put him back to sleep. Such a sleeping state would help him to restore his emotional balance gradually while we waited for the next meeting. No one can love God unless he devotes himself to service. Likewise, no rescue work can succeed unless one considers both obsessed and obsessor as worthy of love and assistance. This is so because both contenders are involved in the same problem and are equally unhappy. The obsessor is even more miserable, first because he's intoxicated by his own hatred, and second because the law of cause and effect will force him to meet his guilt someday. So let us pity the evildoers because they know not what they do. To carry out the adopted program, the selected group met again at the Society's premises on the appointed day. Every member kept the same conscious attitude observed at the first meeting. Their serene faces reflect their inner contentment that revealed optimism and confidence in the higher powers of life, along with the willing humility to submit to these powers and accept any results. The new meeting started with a stimulating reading that was commented on by some of the group members. Then they offered a prayer, so starting the communion between the two spheres of life. The medium Joel, in astral projection, had been brought into contact with the obsessor the night before in order to start the convenient blending of their auras to get the best possible results of the mediumistic activity. Our beloved, humble, and diligent Becerra, greatly experienced in dealing with obsession, carefully planned every step of the meeting so as to get the desired positive results. From the time he was an incarnate spirit living on the dense spheres of matter, Becerra's sympathy had been aroused by the bitter fate of the suffering obsessed incarnate. He dedicated a great part of his time to help them liberate themselves from their oppressive bonds. Such service required of him a considerable amount of patience, love, and wisdom, and because he never lacked such virtues, he was always successful. Becerra has a great love for all misguided earthbound entities because he knows quite well what awaits them in the future. He was supervising the evening service with fatherly sympathy, but without uneasy apprehension, overindulgence, or anxiety, which well characterized the attitude of those who are still spiritually immature. The evening's activities passed off smoothly within a harmonious psychic atmosphere. Becerra controlled his sensitive medium Rosangela, and after evangelical greetings said, "We are gathered here under the protection of Jesus with the sole aim of rendering aid. We have no great ambition. We know that all results belong to the Lord, to whom we've offered our own lives. Let us recall the Master's attitude towards the obsessed Gadarene. No reproach, no violence, no vulgarity, no accusation, no censure. He considered the obsessed painful drama and the shadows he was in. He analyzed the obsessor's fears and the spiritual needs of the obsessed, and both were set free according to their spiritual positions. Always calm and righteous, superior and loving, Jesus inspired respect, granted liberating opportunities for all, and provided help. Let us then take advantage of the excellent possibilities he affords us: prayer, patience, charity. Permeating ourselves with such powers, we will certainly dispense with argument, agitation, humiliating offense, or harsh truth to convince our brother obsessor. We're not fighting to win a battle. On the contrary, we're here to live the Christian experience, administering charity to ourselves through the service we render to others." Becerra made a short pause so that everyone could absorb the essence of his words, and then continued, "The sick brother we have here under treatment is a symbol of our own past, for he acts not much differently from the way we used to do ourselves. At the same time, he shows the future of those who are spiritually asleep, unconscious of their personal responsibilities. So when we call him brother, let our hearts say the words together with our lips." And starting the actual work, he concluded, "Let us now pray and proceed." Becerra's opportune lecture led me to ponder over the meaning of the word brother. So easy to say, so difficult to express the acceptance of a fellow human being as such. Considering what I had heard, I realized that the rough, cold, unhappy, and aggressive obsessor was just another spiritually sick brother who had failed along the road of evolution and was left behind, needing as much help as his unfortunate victims. I looked at the obsessed girl's parents and could hear their minds concentrated in a fervent prayer. Tears ran down their faces, translating their emotion and the feeling of compassion for the one who was tormenting them, but that at the same time had also been the precious instrument of their encounter with Jesus. The medium Joel, in deep concentration, withdrew from his physical form. I watched his physical body. It had turned into something like a power plant of magnetic energies. From the center where his pineal gland, or epiphysis, was located, a powerful luminous dynamo vibrated intensely, irradiating throughout the entire endocrinous system, activating the adrenal glands with a phosphorescent energy which glowed fantastically. His brain had changed into a nucleus of brilliant iridescent lights, while his heart vitalized all the circulatory system, where luminous fluids showed a golden orange color. I was fascinated by the unsuspected beauty before my eyes. Becerra understood my wonder and explained, "Mediumship with Jesus is like a sublime bridge through which the loftiest expressions of divine thought may pass. It is an inexhaustible fountain of transcendent resources, which ebbs and flows abundantly, quenching the thirst of many and restoring peace and strength. From its superior sources come inspiration and spiritual nourishment, plus the energy that sustains us in the difficult moments of martyrdom and renunciation. It is also through its channel that heaven speaks to man. The Father answers the pleas we send out in our prayers, and mercy soothes our sores and encourages us towards sanctification through charity. It is through mediumship that the apostle, the missionary, and the saint have their glimpses into the unknown, their visions, dreams, and raptures, or receive instructions. It is also through it that they receive the lofty stimulus that drives them forward into self-realization and the fulfillment of noble aims, regardless of scoffers and disturbers that may stand in their way threatening. Jesus Christ, the medium of God, lifted mediumship to its most sublime position. Mediumship is a blessing, but if neglected, it becomes a source of darkness and constant misfortune, ending up by overcoming the imprudent host who disrespects it. If rejected, it may turn into an open door to many forms of alienation and physical diseases of difficult diagnosis. A spiritual perception working through the delicate network of the perispirit. Mediumship filters the vibrations, and then it may become a bright sunshine or a heavy blanket of shadows, depending on the spheres it attunes to. Every constant Christian should ennoble mediumship through work and self-sacrifice, guarding it from any form of vice that attracts inferior earthbound entities, whose contact may pervert and degrade it. He paused, looked at the medium whose spirit body was an astral projection, and said, "Joel is a good example of dedication and discipline. He's a conscious student of Spiritism and is aware of his own limitations. Such conditions make him an excellent instrument for communication between the two worlds, because he's free from self-importance, inferior passion, and conceit." And, paraphrasing the gospel, he added, "To the good laborer, the right compensation is assured." Becerra stopped, approached the sleeping entity, helped him to assume control of the medium, and woke him up from the hypnotic sleep. No sooner had he regained consciousness than he tried to raise the medium from his seat in a desperate attempt to create a tumult. Unaware of the lapse of time between the two meetings, he stormed furiously, "What have you done to me? I'm not the one to waste time sleeping. As I was saying a minute ago, as long as my hatred blazes, I won't listen to sermons." Becerra remained close to the entity and began to use a special technique to refresh his memories and stimulate his perceptions. The entity suddenly saw the group of incarnate people around the table. Without knowing exactly what was going on, he shouted, "Where am I? I'm asking again. Who are you, and what do you want with me? Are you dead or alive?" The counselor answered calmly, You are in a spiritist meeting. As I've told you before, nobody dies. You are without your physical body. We still have ours. And since you've asked, I'll tell you this. We belong to the living on Earth plane, and you are among the so-called dead, but who in fact continue living. We want to help you. Help me? Why on earth would anyone want to help me? I have no friends. I don't believe in kindness. Oh, come on now, let's have it straight. That's what we're trying to do. You're sick, and we want to help you get well. As the conversation between obsessor and counselor followed its course, Colonel Santamaria, eager to help enlighten the obsessor in order to save his daughter, ended up by tuning in with the entity. The colonel's mind, firmly focused, reached the entity, who immediately looked around intently. His eyes meet the colonel, whom he recognized at once. "There he is!" he shouted. "What are you doing here?" he asked the colonel directly. "Do you think you can reach me? It's too late now. It's too late. Now it's my time to give orders. Revenge! Revenge! The hour has come." "We don't know what or whom you're talking about," said the counselor tactfully. "He knows," answered the entity, pointing at the colonel. "If he can't remember, I could never forget. Me, his victim. That's why I control his daughter now. I'll make him crawl at my feet and beg of me, and I'll have the pleasure to say no, and I'll give back to him only the dead body of the wretched girl. And then..." Donna Margarita, not familiar with similar situations, began to cry. Colonel Santamaria, despite his most ardent desire to adjust himself to the events and educate himself, was impotent to keep his serenity. He let himself be disturbed and lost control of his emotions. The entity bragged on. "I hate him. I hate him. My God, how I hate this man. He looks older. He's changed a little, but he's my fierce foe. I hate him." The negative vibrations of hate, cast out in successive waves of low range, impregnated the room and created an unpleasant atmosphere. Well inspired, Colonel Cabrera said, "Let's keep our serenity. A desperate patient requires special attention, urgent help, skilled assistance. Let's keep ourselves loving and serene. Trying? Me? Sick? You're the one who's crazy. I hate that man, and he knows why. I'll never forgive him. What he did to me and my people shall be paid slowly. Death would be a pleasant vacation for him. I'll give him the pleasure of a slow torture. Seeing or not, he'll know that his daughter is dying little by little in my hands, while at the same time I'll make her hate him. If he decides to escape through suicide, as I've already suggested mentally, so much the better for me. You'll see, you miserable wretch," he said, addressing the colonel again, "how good it is to kill oneself. If you decide to go on living, it's the same to me. You thought I was dead. I did so myself. At first, I couldn't figure out what had happened to me. It took me a long time to understand. We've changed positions now. I'm all confidence. He's all uncertainty. I've got the trump card. He's got nothing." "You're mistaken, my friend," the counselor said. "If someone here has wronged you, he didn't do it consciously. Or if he did, he's sorry now and asks for forgiveness. And mind you, it's much better to forgive than to ask forgiveness. Here in this house, our motto is charity. We have no room for retaliation and revenge. You know what the word suffering means? So why don't you try to help a little?" And changing his tone, he continued, "The father has wronged you, and you punish his child. Is that sensible? You wreak revenge, unaware of the injustice in it. You call yourself a victim, but you take the role of the criminal. On what grounds do you act so? Have you never heard of Jesus Christ, the blameless crucified one? Is this the way you answer his sacrifice of love on a cross? A cross that has been so far a symbol of shame, but which his sacrifice dignified? I see you're sicker than we suspected, my friend. Now hear this. Esther, your present victim, is neither her father's property nor yours. We all belong to the Heavenly Father. One day, you may be asked the biblical question, where is Abel, thy brother? Whither shall you run then? I hate him, that's all I know. Hatred will not excuse you at the divine court which assesses justice. On the contrary, it will aggravate your situation. Our errors are our collectors. When we forget them, they'll lie in wait for the proper moment. Calm down and put your trust in Jesus. And then he asked the obsessor, tell me something. Do you know Jesus? Yes, I even loved him some in my childhood, but it's too late now. Nobody can love him and forget him. A person may move away from him, but he will stand there waiting. Call him, my friend, and become reconciled with the brother whom you believe to be your enemy. Do this and rescue yourself. I can't. I won't free the daughter. I want the father to suffer. And torment the mother also? What has the mother done to you? Look at her. She grieves without knowing your reasons, although no reason whatever would justify what you're doing. What would you feel towards someone who were destroying the very one who carried you in your arms with devotion and suffering? Stop! The obsessor shouted imperiously. Don't mention my mother. She's the one whose suffering I'll avenge. Mother, mother! He cracked up, nearly insane. Becerra, who had led the obsessor to recall his happy moments, resorted to magnetic passes to help him quiet down a little. He fell asleep again and was taken away as in the previous meeting. Becerra came through Joel to make some useful comments, and after a prayer the meeting was closed. Shortly after, the members of the group talked optimistically about the hopeful results of the evening, and under the shining stars that watched from a cloudless sky they returned home.
Dear friends, so much for us to be grateful for, right? Isn't it beautiful to see how God's love, as we said in the beginning of the program tonight, manifests itself unconditionally, even in the spiritual realm, even towards brothers and sisters who are free from their physical bodies? And isn't it amazing to see that the emotional traumas and pain that the discarnate spirit experiences is so very similar to the pain that we ourselves experience? And isn't it truly incredible to realize that all they need, as we do, is a little respect and loving attention? Beautiful how the love of God truly transforms. It's beautiful to see that we, dear friends, as the medium Joel has done, can offer of our own physical vitality on behalf of the brothers and sisters who are connected to us, who are part of this blessed school that we call Earth, but who live in the true dimension of life. How beautiful it is to know that even our physical bodies can be an instrument of charity, as Kardec himself points out in the Gospel according to Spiritism. Without charity there is no salvation, and God is so loving and wise that He allows even our physical body to be an instrument of charity. How beautiful it is, right? To be able to serve God by helping our brothers and sisters that are discarnate but who are still in need of emotional support. How many times do we as incarnate spirits crave for just a little bit of respectful attention and emotional support. It is beautiful to know that through mediumship, we can be the ones who offer this emotional support to our brothers and sisters. Beautiful and very consoling to know that no one is lost, that no one is doomed to feel a certain way, that even when we feel heavy feelings, heavy, difficult emotions, such as the one that the discarnate spirit voiced in the spiritual rescue meeting that we just heard about, experienced, that this spirit is not doomed to feel this way, that this spirit is also blessed with the opportunity to speak his truth and to find emotional comfort through the wise and loving words of the spiritual counselor and doctors and therapists and nurses that act out of kindness and compassion in favor of all of us. How beautiful it is to know that a simple prayer, a simple thought of loving kindness can reach out to one of these brothers and sisters and allow them to feel liberated from the heavy weight of their own emotions. Isn't it beautiful too, dear friends, to know again, this time in more details after listening to the chapter tonight, that we, brothers and sisters in the physical and spiritual realm, can actively collaborate with each other to bring each other relief, consolation, and information that can change the course of our lives. How beautiful, right? We learned a lot from the testimony of the discarnate spirit in need, and we learned a lot from observing the team, the mediumistic team, working in collaboration, where everyone took a particular role very seriously and loving to make the system work kindly and compassionately on behalf of everyone. How beautiful it is to know that the mediumistic team participating of the rescue work is like a family, that everyone has an important role to play in bringing relief and in learning from one another. And lastly, dear friends, how beautiful and touching it was for us to see the encounter of the discarnate spirit with his own loving mother. How consoling it is for us to have the certainty that no matter how difficult the circumstances, we always have hearts that love us so deeply that they are willing to be by our sides, waiting for us to welcome them into our lives no matter what. And this is the case with the mother that came at the end of the meeting to rescue her own son. And it is beautiful to see that the discarnate spirit defenses all washed away once he received love and attention from his own mother. So now, dear friends, we truly know that love never dies. Let us carry this certainty with us as the week unfolds, and let us allow this very certainty to nourish our hearts and souls now and always.